Hello, everybody. I hope that you had a fantastic Easter and that you were able to rest and hang out with your family. I know here on the east side of Sioux Falls, where we live, we got roughly 5 inches of snow. We were out shoveling together. We played in the snow a little bit, and we still have snow outside today. Tyus and I went and shoveled a little bit. So it's Monday, and I wish that I was able to see you, but today is still a break for everybody. So, with that in mind, we're going to talk a little bit about our growth mindset because remember, Mondays sometimes are like our reset button, especially when we're working with students. Weekends sometimes can be hard for kids, and so knowing that you have to have that growth mindset coming into Mondays is very important. Off of the website We Are Teachers, I found this picture and I absolutely loved it because it is so true. So it says, teachers, you enter the classroom and set the mood for the day/week. It is your presence that students count on when they need encouragement. Choose to be happy, choose to have joy, and choose to love. Every day is a new day. Some days are going to be harder than others, specifically for certain students, maybe you as well. But having that reset button and having a growth mindset so that Mondays can be good, so that I can build up and you're setting the stage for the rest of the week for your students. With that, we're going to go into our very next topic, and we're going to talk about students who have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And you'll also have some students that also have ADD, but ADHD is the qualification factor for special education services. And just because a student has ADHD does not necessarily mean that they will qualify for services. There are many students who it impacts, but it doesn't impact enough educationally for them to qualify for services. However, they can qualify. And so what we would have done next on this page is I would have had a sort set up for you on each of your tables, working with your groups. And there would have been 3 categories. There's pictures, and it's a picture sort. And this is just to grasp and to see the knowledge that you would have had on the topic of ADHD. This is an activity you can use with your students in your classroom so that you can kind of pre-check, but it gives them a little bit of pre-knowledge into what you're going to be talking about. And this also helps some students to start actively thinking about what the lesson's going to be like, and they're more engaged into what's going on. So you would have had pictures, and the pictures would have been split up into 3 categories: characteristics of students who have ADHD, strategies to assist students who have ADHD, and then some treatments that help students who have ADHD. All the treatments not necessarily are ones that you see within the education setting, but they are outside that possibly can happen. Sometimes schools have to have them as well. So you don't get to see any of those pictures. When I can get back to my office, I have not been to my office, I have my book at home, but when I get back to my office, I will screenshot what the sort looked like so that you can kind of see what you would have played into if you would have been in our classroom setting. So with that being said, I'm going to go in and talk specifically about characteristics of students who have ADHD, some strategies for you as future teachers, and then also some of the treatments that take place with students. So these are the basic facts. First, I just want to tell you that the cause of ADHD is not really understood greatly. It's not well understood. There could be similar patterns of behavior that lead to the diagnosis of a student who has ADHD. But yet both of those 2 kids could have had completely different factors that which would have caused the ADHD. So there's no really clear, consistent evidence to what causes ADHD in some children and what doesn't cause it in some other children. But some nitty-gritty facts of it is that children who are in school, so that's aged pre-K all the way up to seniors in high school, the prevalence of ADHD found within students who are in your classroom setting is between 3 and 7% of the total population, which is pretty high considering. According to the CDC, 23% of children were not getting medication or treatment to help their behaviors, which is a huge number. Okay, so these are just kids that are hanging out in your classroom settings that are not either medically treated by their doctor or their parents. And then the school is providing no formal training for them to help overcome these behaviors that tend to come out of students who are hyperactive within your class. Students have a heightened alertness to environmental stimuli that affects their academic performance, and that's what causes them to qualify for special education services. When they do qualify, they don't have on their paperwork that they are ADHD. They qualify under the criteria known as other health impairment, or they can also qualify for a 504 plan. So the difference between a 504 plan and an IEP is that an IEP is one that the special education team is in charge of. It is updated every single year. You have to qualify for it. A student who is on a 504 plan does not have to qualify for services. If they have a medical diagnosis through a DSM-5, they are eligible for a 504 plan. On a 504 plan, generally the school counselors are in charge of it. Sometimes if you're in a smaller school district setting, a special education teacher might be in charge of all the 504 plans as well, but generally it falls on the school psychologist. And what they do is they are mandated to update it every so often. They don't have to do it yearly. It's probably sometimes in the best interest of the child because a child can grow so much over a year academically. But what they do is they just have accommodations. So maybe the student can take a test in a quieter area. Maybe they can have double the amount of time on a test. Maybe after notes have been taken and independent work study has been given to the students to complete in the classroom setting, maybe they're able to go to the library instead by themselves, or so on and so forth. So that's the difference. If a student qualifies for another health impairment or OHI for a special education placement plan, the special education teacher is in charge of that student. They will have goals. They will work on different ways for them to help them focus within the classroom or to maybe not fidget as much. And that is updated every single year and then retested for qualifications every 3. All right. So there are some teaching strategies and interventions that I found to be beneficial when I worked with students. And does it work for everybody? Nope. But sometimes you need a ton of tools in your toolbox to figure out which one works for the student. So depending on what district you work in, will depend on if you can read certain books. And I know that's a little iffy. However, there are so many different books out there for students. And books are particularly important because it helps students to see characters that might be their same age who struggle with the same things that they do. It also helps others who do not have the disability or whatever it is that the child might have to better understand kind of what they're going through if they see it from an outside perspective. So this book is fantastic. And some kids will absolutely love to read. This might spark some kids to read, but it's called Marvin's Monster Diary, and it's called ADHD Attacks. Now I'm going to read this to you, and hopefully sometime you can go out and find the book. It is a wonderful story to read, and I'm trying not to laugh, and I will try not to give away the end, but this is what's on the book. Meet Marvin, a lovable monster with a 12-string baby fang guitar, a rambunctious case of ADHD, and a diary to record it all. His teachers scold him, his parents don't know what to do with him, and his sister is convinced he was raised by triple-tailed monkeys. In short, Marvin's life is feeling out of control until a secret formula changes everything. To find out what that secret change formula is, to find out what that secret formula is that changes everything, read Marvin's Monster Diary. All right, books. Books are very, very helpful for teaching strategy to use. Okay. Here's a few other books that you can read that have best titles that can provide children age appropriate. Okay, so not all of them are really for, like, Marvin's Monster Diary might not be for somebody who is 17 or 18. They might think that it's kiddish and they don't want to read it. So here are different ones. The Survival Guide for Kids with ADHD. I have Bees in My Brain, which is hilarious to me, because if you think about how, and I've even talked to some kids who have struggled, and maybe you do have ADHD, or maybe you did struggle, and that was one of the best titles I've ever heard, is I have bees in my brain. It's like a whole bunch of little bees buzzing around. Baxter Turns Down His Buzz, which is a little kid book. I Can Do That, a book on self-regulation, which is for a little bit older. And then I Would If I Could, and that's a teenager's guide to ADHD and hyperactivity. So those are fantastic stories. Maybe some of you have read them. If not, check them out. They're fantastic. Overall, when working with students who have ADHD, you have to find your inner patients, and you have to know that what they are doing, they're not trying to do. They're not trying to make you mad. They're not trying to push your buttons. They just need to learn how to channel their inner being. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take days, weeks, months, sometimes years. I know, working out in Boise, my speech and language path, who is now retired, that I was working with, she was fascinating, and she was so knowledgeable in her area of study. And one day she came to work, and she was, I'm not even joking when I say this, picture this older lady who has short buzzed hair, and she has glasses, and it was white. It was the prettiest white like snow you've ever seen her hair was. And she was literally running all over the place. Like, she was walking to the copier, and then she would kind of like hurry, skip back, and then she was in and out of her desk, and then she was talking 10,000 miles per hour. And finally I said, "Are you okay today?" And she's like, "Why? Can you tell?" And I said, "Well, kind of." And she said, "Yeah, I forgot my medication." And I said, "Oh, do you want to go get it?" Because she didn't have her car that day. And she was like, "Would you drive me to my house?" And within, she was so funny. She was like, "I am the person," she's like, "and I hate to tell parents that they need to put medication in their children," because she was like, "I understand that it's not for everybody," but she's like, "You can tell. For me, it absolutely is." So I had never seen her like that, and I probably don't think in the 3 years that I worked there that I ever saw her ever again like that. But I had to have patience that day, because she was pulling some of my kids away from me, and just how she was just in and out and everywhere. And so my patience had to be there, and I oftentimes have to pray for my patients, even with my own child, who sometimes seems a little bit rambunctious and like he can't control himself attention-wise. But I have to remind myself he's 4, and we just have to remember to go back to that mindset. So if there's a student who's struggling and who has struggled all day long, and they're pushing their buttons, just remember that they're not trying to, and that you reset yourself for the next day and have even more patience. All right. Ways to assist kids within your classroom is you have to have clear-cut rules, okay? And the routines that you follow every day will help these students understand what needs to be done, when needs to be done, and they'll tend to not ask as many questions. So even giving assignments, make sure you have a list of steps that they need to take. So, like, first, get out your assignment, put your name on it, then do this. Next, do this. Once you finish, put it here. Then you have free choice. And then even sometimes when you give kids free choice, you need to have clear things. Like, you can choose a popsicle stick that has an activity on it. You can go to your iPad and play whatever educational game is on there. Be very clear when you're establishing your routines and your rules within your classroom. We have to limit distractions. This can be extremely hard, specifically when you're in the younger grades. But there are going to be distractions, and sometimes we as educators, we want to fill up our walls with posters and bright colors and all of these different things. The more clean, clear-cut lines there are within classrooms will help limit what is distracting students who already struggle to pay attention in the first place. You gotta allow for movement and play. Free play, free choice movement. Do yoga stretches every 5 minutes that they're working on some activity. Let them stand up, let them stretch. If a kid has to stand in the back of the classroom, absolutely. We have to be flexible for these students. Please, please, please don't ever take away recess. And sometimes I know it's something that we want to say, well, if you don't do this, then you won't get to go out to recess, or if you don't finish your worksheet, you're going to be late for recess. Please provide more movement. Don't take it away. All right. When you are working with kids who have ADHD, it is often suggested that you ask questions instead of reprimanding them. So instead of saying, why are you bending over on your desk? Say, is there a reason why you're bending over on the desk? So you're saying the same thing, you're just asking. Well, I just said the same thing. Why? Wow, I just said 2 questions. Stop bending over in your desk. Here, that's the better one. Stop bending over in your desk. Instead, say, is there a reason why you're bending over in your desk? Can I assist you with something? Do you need help grabbing something? So ask the question instead of telling them what not to do. For students who struggle with ADHD, provide that frequent positive feedback. If you even see them do the slight wonderful thing in your classroom, hey, I noticed that you put your name on your paper right away. Thanks so much. Anything that you can do to give them positive feedback, please do. They oftentimes are so reprimanded for being such an off-task person within your classroom that they don't get provided that positive feedback, which they truly need. These are some characteristics of effective teachers of students with ADHD. So they have patience, they have humor. I'm not going to read all of these, but if you want to assist a student in a positive way and leave that impact on them for the remainder of their lives, they will look back and say, so-and-so had, they were very clear with me, they were consistent, and I knew that they loved me even though I sometimes push their buttons. And oftentimes they'll realize what they did. But if you can do these characteristics while working with students, specifically those that have ADHD, you will make a lasting impact on them that they will never forget. There is a 3-2-1 strategy. And so you start back up, or you can go in either order. I like to start independently and give kids like 2 minutes. Hey, you're going to work for 2 minutes by yourself. And then as soon as that 2 minutes up, you're going to get to work with the table, and you provide them numbers if they're working with different people all the time. Hey, the 2 minutes has been up. Now go to the table with your number on it. They know that number. And then now we're going to come back together as a class as a whole and work on the same problem, maybe up it a little bit harder. But the 3-2-1 strategy is absolutely phenomenal to use with kids. One more thing, and I don't have a slide for this, but one more thing, if you check out page 365 and 366 within your book, they talk a lot about how self-monitoring assists students to just do more than stay on task. If you provide students the opportunity to take control and care of their own selves, they will feel empowered. And we have to empower students so that they feel like they can do it. So check out page 365 and 366 so that you have a little bit better understanding of what self-monitoring all has to do. So it's kids who are in charge themselves of understanding what they can and can't do. I hope you had a great weekend, like I said. This is the rest for chapter 11. On Friday, we will discuss chapter 12. Have a wonderful week. I look forward to seeing you all again a week from today, because like I said, I'm recording this on 4/13, so I will see you a week from today. But have a wonderful week. Finish this slide, and then I will have a forum post for you. So check out the forum post to get credit for today. have that done by Thursday. Try to have it done by Thursday this week so I can give you credit for being attentive on on Wednesday. So listen to chapter 11, what I just went over, go to the forum post, and then we will cover chapter 12 on Friday. Take care.